All right, thank you. Thanks, guys. So I'm Chris Allen from Rev5 Pro. I think Dan did a really great job of talking about the future of television, and what we're kind of seeing is a revolution in the way people experience entertainment. And in particular, we're focused on live streaming. And I'm hoping that I can take what Dan started and continue talking about the future of live streaming and live entertainment. And in particular, what we're seeing is kind of a revolution in terms of latency. Everybody in the industry is talking about latency. And what way we define latency in live streaming is they say glass to glass, right? So it's captured on this end and somebody else on the other end is able to see it. And that amount of time that elapses between those is really what we're talking about when we talk about latency. And there's a lot of buzz in the industry right now about latency, and everybody is talking about, getting it down to 1 to 3 seconds or something like that. But we think in order to really create a revolution in terms of user experience, we can't be measuring in seconds. We're measuring our product in milliseconds right now. So sub 500 milliseconds is where we think we need to be. And we call this real-time streaming. And the reason that this is important is because you can add live, kind of interactions with the streams. And these are the kind of new experiences that we're seeing. So we've got a demo over in our booth that I would encourage you guys to stop by and see. We're doing a live stream from New York to Paris and back. We've got a POP, one of the edge compute platform on CD networks. We have one of the servers up in Paris, and we're hitting that server and then having it come all the way back again. So this is round trip time. We're seeing around 300 milliseconds. Now, the network in this room really kind of sucks, so I decided just to shoot a video to not deal with the issues of the internet. So hopefully we can hear this. If only I had volume. Of course, that's all. Well, anyway, I guess I'll talk to it since we don't have volume coming on my laptop. You can see the one on the left there is the actual capture of the camera. And then on the right is actually the stream coming back from Paris. And we were showing about 300 milliseconds. And when you kind of interact with it, you can actually see that it's almost like a complete mirror of what's going on. And so being able to do this kind of thing with 300 milliseconds and doing that at huge scale where millions of concurrent viewers are viewing the stream all at once, it really opens up a lot of possibilities. And the way we're doing this is not doing the traditional approach. We basically are skipping the traditional CDN or content delivery network process of doing HTTP and caching the files and getting all of this stuff distributed in a HTTP way. Instead, we're leveraging WebRTC, which was originally built for video communication, right? So video chat. Anybody who's used Google Hangouts kind of knows what this is. But we've leveraged it in a way that we can deploy on a server. Of course, when you bring this up to people, people immediately go to this WebRTC doesn't scale. We beg to differ. We actually figured out how to scale it. But the thing that you have to do is you really have to rethink the architecture of how you would approach such a thing. So we do this with kind of a basic clustering model. We've got origin servers and edge servers in the deployment. Publishers connect to the origins, and then it's distributed out to edges, and subscribers all connect to the edges. And so each node in the architecture can scale out. And then when you want to hit really massive scale, we put a relay in the middle. So origin goes to relays that then fan out to edges. And all of this is deployed on cloud networks. We currently support AWS, Google Cloud, Azure, and then most recently with CD Networks, their edge compute platform, which uses Kubernetes. So we're basically spinning up and spinning down instances within a live stream to be able to handle the load in real time. And this really introduced, the other thing I should actually point out is that we can also do private deployments. We've got a lot of really interesting kind of like military style use cases and stuff where they need completely offline or they need to deploy on their own data centers. And we do support that as well. So probably what's more interesting is like what actually happens when you can hit 500 milliseconds or less in latency, and you can do this at scale. What kind of experiences can you get out of this? And we've been seeing a lot of really interesting things across a lot of industries, particularly in live entertainment. Now everybody knows about like HQ Trivia and like all of these new trivia games. We've got tons of those on our platform today. But I think that this is just really the beginning. There's all kinds of things that we're starting to see with live interaction with the users. And this is kind of really the next generation of TV, is when you can actually interact directly with the content. So live game shows, but also things like live album playbacks. One of our customers, Vertigo, is doing these things where the artist goes online, they do a live album. So they've just launched their new album. The artist can go online and basically do a video chat with everybody who's listening to the album at the same exact time. And they're scaling into the millions of concurrent viewers. Live sports is also an area that we're seeing a lot of really interesting things. Everything from professional sports, but also down to local sports. This other customer of ours, Local Live, is a really cool app. It allows parents to capture kids' games, and then relatives who are far away, they can't see it, they're able to tap in and see the experience right away. And it's got the overlay of the scores and other fun stuff like that. Live auctions, this is a pretty obvious use case because they absolutely need low latency. If you're bidding on this lovely Van Gogh here, and your video is 30 seconds off, and when this thing comes up for bid, you might miss out on it, or even worse, you might have be bidding on something that you didn't expect. So this is really incredibly important for these guys. And our customer Invaluable is doing lots of really interactive kind of experiences with auctions in the art space right now. But we have others that are doing livestock auctions, and I mean, you wouldn't believe the kind of stuff that is auctioned. There's like pigeon auctions out of all things. So. And also in the IoT space, we're seeing lots of really interesting things too. So live surveillance is really a big one, where there's drones. We're also seeing this in kind of live news too, like where journalism is leveraging devices in the field, first responders with body cameras and everything else. One of our customers, DroneSense, just did the surveillance for the Super Bowl. They had their drones flying above the stadium, and they were leveraging our technology to be able to stream that live to all the other people that are monitoring this stuff in real time. And of course, latency is incredibly important for that. Now, we're also working on some really interesting things that are outside of even Earth, like looking at space and how do you get the latency from the moon and back to be extremely fast. Now, we haven't figured out how to crack the speed of light yet, but that's something that we're working on. And really, I encourage all of you guys to come by and see us and talk to us. The stuff that you can do with this is pretty incredible, and we're getting really excited about it. I have a presentation tomorrow. We're giving away one of these 360-degree cameras, so I encourage you to come by my presentation tomorrow and learn more about what we're doing. And we're also demoing this live 4K 360-degree video, live streaming through our platform over in our booth. Anyway, that's all I've got today. Thank you guys very much. Come find me. Or if anybody has any questions, I don't know if we have time for that.
We got time for one or two questions if anyone has one.
All right.
Otherwise, they can certainly, as you said, visit the Red 5 Pro booth or see your presentation here. We got a question in the front. Let me bring the mic up to you.
This gentleman here has a question.
Hi. Just curious, you mentioned you have in your demo a 360 video. Is your technology being called on in any actual deployments of immersive content, virtual reality content for delivering over networks for the kind of fast interaction that technology like tiling requires?
Yeah, we do have some that are in production. Unfortunately, due to NDAs, I can't disclose who they are, but we are seeing some really interesting kind of VR type user experiences that leverage this. And often what we're seeing is kind of like the hybrid of like video chat with a live broadcast, so they can bring in a guest and then they're in that immersive experience. But because our latency is so low, it basically allows for a video chat to happen simultaneously with the thing. And so you can almost think of it as like live news, live talk radio, but like now it's like moving into video, right? So being able to, hey, we'll bring in the next caller, and then they're immersed into this like 360 experience, for example. But yeah, I mean, there's all kinds of cool stuff that can be done with it in the VR space. Anybody else?
All right, one more
Yep.
question we've got time for.
What's the kind of the penalty on bit rates? Because obviously as you lower latency, the encoder has less video to look at and won't be able to do as good a job.
Yeah, so because there's zero caching, yeah, you're right. You have to have enough bandwidth to be able to support it. So the bit rates, I mean, for a 4K video, you really need like 8 megabits per second. And so, that's what we've been streaming with that. That said, our platform does support adaptive bit rate. So we can actually generate multiple stream qualities and then adapt down if you don't have enough bandwidth to keep up. And the way it's doing that is over, with WebRTC, there's actually this data channel. It's called RTCP. It's sending messages from the client saying, hey, I can't keep up. Send me something different. And in a peer-to-peer session where you're doing a video chat with somebody, that's just the other browser then adjusts to what that other one's needs are. In our case, our server is actually saying, oh, you can't keep up. Let me deliver this other video to you during that time. So that's the way we're dealing with that. But yeah, I mean, this is also kind of a nice area to be in at this moment because 5G is rolling out and the latency, the bandwidth with that is just astronomical. And we're starting to see that that's becoming less and less of an issue. And I think that's going to become the case into the future. Now, of course, as we start doing like stereoscopic, 3D, VR stuff, it's just going to get exponentially more bandwidth. But I think we're going to be able to keep up.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. The expo hall is now open, and our sessions will begin at 10:30.
Thank you.